Good morning. It's Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan. He's a Corgi. And this is an episode of Conversations with a Corgi. Hi, Neely. Hi, Danny. Hi, everybody. So we're going to continue our talk today about food and behavior. And today we're going to talk about obesity in dogs and the impact that has on their health. I mean, that's like 45 episodes, but we're really going to focus on behavior. So because this all started with the relationship between diet and behavior, and creating inflammation in your dog with a poor diet can create behaviors that are not ones we want. Snappiness. Ooh, Bisky had a big burp. Not getting along with other dogs, irritability, inability to learn, inability to do performance events with you. So what's the impact? I just had experience with a dog who had this problem. She was not much bigger than Tristan and apparently weighed 50 pounds at one point. Her stomach literally dragged on the ground to the point where she had, even when she weighed 30 pounds, like a hole in her fur. So, and Corgis, I mean, if they're what we call in the horse world easy keepers. So it doesn't take much to make a Corgi fat, and that Corgi lived with an elderly person who equated food with love, and so the Corgi got really fat and she didn't get any exercise. So what kind of behavior problems is that going to create in your dog? Well, you know yourself, if you've ever been weighing more than you'd like, you have less of an interest in exercise, you don't want to play. It can literally lead to depression in your dog because he can't interact with the world in a way that is the way dogs would. We don't see obesity in wild dogs, foxes, wolves, coyotes, and animals in general in the wild. They can't get enough food. They spend so much energy looking for food that they can't eat enough food to replace that and get to a point where they're obese, except like bears that store fat for the winter so they can survive. And in that case, they're not really obese because they're using those calories for the next couple of months and they wake up skinny and hungry, as we know. So obesity can lead to a lot of problems in your dog. If you're trying to train your dog and he's really heavy, it's going to be hard for him to participate in those training sessions. He's not going to be very mobile. His joints are going to hurt. He's going to get arthritis. Often obese dogs end up with Cushing's, like this little dog that I was talking about initially. My friend was saying that when he looked down from her top view, that she looked like she was starving. She was so skinny through her ribs, but she had a big pot belly, typical sign of Cushing's, which can be from a tumor on the pituitary or back in the adrenals. This dog may have had tumors in a lot of places because she ended up dying of kidney failure after long-term bladder infections and kidney infections and urinary infections, etc. So these are things that don't make a happy dog. And if your dog isn't happy, you're not going to see positive behavior. Your dog is not going to want to go for walks, even though he needs it. And I know that my sister and some other vet places and vet techs that work at vet places are now starting to take in a dog who is really obese and put him on an exercise and better diet program for a month to reduce the weight in the dog, because sometimes you can't change the people. And, you know, when you work with animals, this is the most important thing you need to do is work with people, because that dog lives with those people. And if you can't convince that person that may have food problems themselves that their dog's obesity is contributing to making the dog very unhappy, it's not going to be very easy for that person to change their behavior about how they're working with their dog. And, you know, this goes the opposite direction too. I've worked with people and dogs where the dog is just emaciated. They don't know how to bump up food for increased activity level or age or size of the dog, or increased stress levels, which can create a loss of weight in a dog. It's really important for them and us to keep our weight at a steady state of healthfulness. And, you know, every once in a while, us and our dogs gain some weight that we don't want to have on us. And, you know, it's hard. I remember my father used to always be on diets, and he was super crabby. Plus, he was always quitting smoking at the same time. I don't think that's recommended in the world of stress reduction. But, you know, and he was always so crabby, and he didn't want to do anything. And he never lost enough weight to be, like, slim. So because he lived on fast food. He traveled a lot. He lived on fast food. And that's like feeding our dogs supermarket brand kibble, which can lead to them becoming really fat. And then you've also, obesity creates inflammation in the body. Fat also generates hormones if you have enough of it. And that can lead to kinds of cancer, particularly in female dogs. So it's really important that your dog be at a healthy weight, and to achieve that, you've got to feed him healthy food. As we've been saying all along, what's going on with your dog really starts with food. And, I've worked with a lot of dogs that are in rescue or in shelters who are not having good food available to them. But just even making a few changes that are simple, like adding vegetables to their diet, adding water to a bowl of kibble. I mean, these kinds of things that aren't very hard nor expensive can really improve the dog's health. And obesity is not easy to cope with for us or our dogs. And I know my sister, she has a picture of a really fat dog right when you go in her office in one of her buildings. And it's a Corgi. It just breaks my heart. I mean, the dog weighs more than 50 pounds, and it's very upsetting to me to see this dog. But it is an example, and that's why your vet weighs your dog when he comes in. And yes, like all of us, they get a little chubbier when they're older. For instance, I had Tristan gets this little scoop of food morning and night. So over the winter, I had like 3 scoops running around, and I just squashed them all together because they stack, and I had them in his food that he was eating. Well, what happened was, thanks. What happened was I wasn't reading. There's a line on the scoop where he's supposed to get his food to, and I wasn't reading that correctly. So he basically was getting maybe a 5th or a 6th more food than he should for the whole winter. Now, winter in New England is cold. A lot of people and dogs put on weight in the winter because we're less active, etc. But this little fella, he got really chubby. He went up to 21 pounds, almost 20.9 or something when I weighed him at my sister's office in the spring. And I was like, ooh, what's happened? And then I noticed that he was eating more of his Honest Kitchen than he really needed. Plus I'm adding turkey, which gradually I'm adding more turkey over the years here and less Honest Kitchen in his dinner. But he was a little chubby, and he was not a happy kid when we were on our diet. And for people that like to give treats, I give my dog a lot of treats. And as we've seen with these grain-free diets, you can have cardiac issues with a totally grain-free diet. There's a lot of grain and a lot of treats. And so Tristan's grain intake comes from his treats. So if I want to give my dog a lot of treats, and I do, I just reduce the amount of food he gets so that his total calories for the day is a little bit less. You like my Corgi shirt? Yeah, this is from Hot Topic, and believe me, they come in sizes that have no relevance to life, and this one's huge. But they do come very tiny, so I'm not a big fan of stripes in general. But anyway, thanks. So if your dog is really chubby and he needs to go on a diet, I mean, we couldn't do our 2-mile walks in the winter. It was very icy here, and so I couldn't walk on the road. I have a gym I can go to and walk on the treadmill, but Tristan can't. So it's really incumbent on me to play with him inside the house a lot more when he was on his diet. And it didn't take him more than 2 months to get back down to his fighting weight of 19 pounds, giant Corgi that he is. And he's way happier. He has way more endurance. I can tell, like we were showing in agility in June, and both of us were on a diet for that, and we still are actually, and an exercise program, because you just can't do dog agility if you and the dog aren't at a certain fitness level. And one of the very best people that I see at dog school who works with Malinois, I think, and I think she's got a lab too. But that woman runs like many miles every day to be fit enough to keep up with her extremely fast dogs. Now, I'm not a person who's going to be able to run many miles. I don't think my dog is either. But, just making sure we do our 2-mile walk every day and at a pretty good clip, and sometimes go up the hill, which is very steep, so we get a much better cardiac workout. That stuff can extend the life of your dog and you. And, they've always said that one of the benefits of having a dog is increased cardiac health for you, because you walk your dog, and a lot of people, I guess, wouldn't walk at all. I mean, if you're walking a Chihuahua, I don't know how far you're going compared to walking like a St. Bernard or a Pyrenees. Well, often they sit down and don't move, but if you're walking a Golden Retriever, you're going to be walking further, and that is going to improve your health. So make sure that you don't let your dog get chubby. Our metabolisms tend to slow down as we age. That happens with dogs as well. So it's important to really not do what I did and not pay attention to what you're feeding your dog that much. And also not pay attention to what's going on with his weight. You know, in the summer, he gets a lot of baths, so he's wet, and I can see how chubby he is or isn't. And right now, he's a little bit chubby. So I know that I need to modify what we're doing to keep him slim. So yes, obesity can have a huge impact on your dog's behavior in terms of his mental health. He can be depressed, and his willingness to learn, his ability to move, the arthritis in his joints, and certainly in his long-term health. So make sure you feed your dogs as well as you can afford. Less kibble or no kibble is the best. And then start feeding them raw food, gently cooked food, food that you prepare yourself. A lot of people, like my neighbor, she's trying to feed her dog better. She's on a super budget. And she's just giving her turkey and or chicken and rice, brown rice. But that's not enough. Dogs need vegetables too. Like, I encouraged her to get a bag of like frozen this or that and mix in some vegetables, because the dog is hungry because she's been on kibble for a while, and she will eat her vegetables. Not all dogs will. This one won't. So anyway, that's a good move in the right direction, and it's way better than feeding her the most economical kibble she can get, because the dog needs to eat real food like we do. And she is not a super healthy dog. She was over vaccinated. She had not just Lyme, but anaplasmosis and Ehrlichia all at the same time. And then she's been wearing a flea collar, a tick flea collar, a popular commercial brand. And her parent started to notice that the dog wasn't doing well, that she was really sick, she was vomiting, etc. So she took that collar off. I encouraged her, and anyone who's listening might be interested in this, to get a Mercola herbal collar. They're super effective. They last 3 months, and they will not cause any of these health problems this dog's having. They have peppermint in them and some other things. So watching your diet, improving your diet can improve your dog's overall health and your dog's behavior. This dog is way more cooperative about walking than she used to be because her joints feel good. Being a terrier, she sometimes will stop and not move. And now she stops and not moves when she's smelling something delicious, not just because she doesn't want to go. So thanks for joining us today for this episode of Conversations with a Corgi, where we talked about your dog's weight and his behavior and how to feed better to achieve a better weight for your dog. Not different than people. Feed less, exercise more. Straightforward. But not so easy. And like I said, if you love to give your dog treats, give them less food so that you can continue to give them treats. You'll like your treats, don't you? And really, for people like me, I can't get food with grain in it. It's all the ones I need, like the duck formula is grain-free. So his source of grain is in his treats. So he needs them. Thanks for joining us. Everybody have a great day. We will be back on Friday and Saturday. Sunday, we're going to a big Corgi picnic for the Mayflower Corgi Club out in Eastern Mass. So we may do a Facebook Live from there. What is the food value of treats? Well, it depends on what treats you give. One of Tristan's favorite treats is dehydrated raw duck treats. He really likes them. Oh my God, they stink to me, but he likes them so much. When I open the bag, he'll come running from anywhere. So it depends on what treat you give. I also use Organix Company, Organix, for treats sometimes. I use the cheese ones, and peanut butter and chicken, both not so good for dogs. So look for the cheese one. And really, there's tons of treats now that are made with real meat. So I look for those, or at least organic ones. Can you please, your sister's mouth, okay, they're called Dr. Judy Morgan's Dental Drops. They're on her website, drjudymorgan.com, and they're made with deer antler velvet, cinnamon, I think Manuka honey is in there. There's a bunch of stuff in them, but they are really, really great. And yes, Mary, you probably need them because I believe you have pretty small dogs. So drjudymorgan.com. Dr. Judy Morgan's Dental Drops, or you can just look on Dental Drops. It's one of the first thing that comes up when you go to her website on the buying section, because they are really popular and they're better than all the other dental drops, and that's one of her most big sellers. So thanks for joining us, Mary. We'll see you guys on Friday. Everybody have a great day.